Hey, hey, hey. Time for another out of this world story from rSpace. Sometimes life has a way of turning la dolce vita into divorce and debt. Today on rSpace, when it comes to relationships and money, it's a whole different game and you best know the rules. Cheating wife demanded half in the divorce, so I proved her fraud in court and watched her leave with nothing but her suitcase. Me, 32 male, and my wife, Leah, 29, have been married for 3 years. I work in finance, pulled in a decent living, and have a lot of money invested in different assets. My wife is a digital marketing consultant and a wannabe influencer. I always took the influencer thing as a way to funnel traffic into her digital marketing business, which actually made her some money. I wasn't involved with the finances for her business, or I definitely would have noticed that something was off earlier. Everything I knew about her income came from what she told me. I had no reason to doubt her, so I covered most of the bills and living expenses while she put a bit of money into the joint account and built her brand. She's always been a heavy phone user. Her whole business is online, so even when she's working on her laptop, she has her phone beside her to check messages and make calls. I understood it was part of the business, but we'd set up a boundary early on in the relationship where we weren't allowed to use phones during personal time together. That meant no phones when talking together, watching movies, or on dates. It might seem a bit extreme, but it worked for us because it balanced out her phone time until she started ignoring the rule. That was the first time I got a feeling that something was off. She'd pick up her phone to fire off a quick message while we were watching a movie or having dinner. I'd make a comment about it, and she'd just laugh it off, saying it was urgent. She'd say surely one message wasn't that big of a violation, and I'd laugh too, because it wasn't. But one message became two, and so on, until she was texting when we were supposed to be spending time together. I talked to her about the excessive phone use, but she'd always become defensive. One time we had a fight when she insisted that it had always been a stupid rule. I agreed that it was stupid that we had to come up with a rule because she was always on her phone. Sometimes it felt like we were in a relationship with 3 people, me, her, and her phone. It's surprising how close I came to the truth with that. In the end, I found out what was really going on when I went through her phone, but not in the way you'd expect. I'd been planning a surprise trip to Italy, since it had always been her dream to visit, but she often had meetings and lunches with clients, so I had to plan for a stretch of time where she had nothing booked. I knew she logged all her appointments in her phone calendar, so I got her phone while she was in the shower and took a look. I had an eye for detail and discrepancies immediately jumped out at me. The dates in her calendar didn't fully match up to the meetings she'd gone to recently. She'd supposedly gone to talk with a health food startup about a marketing campaign the day before. That wasn't in her calendar. I knew she relied on her calendar because she didn't trust herself not to forget appointments. There's no way she wouldn't have logged something as important as this. I tried to rationalize it as a single incident, a one-time thing, but there was more. A dinner from 2 days ago wasn't listed, a lunch from last week, a dinner from last Friday, which I remembered because she'd had to cancel a date we were supposed to have. I didn't know what to make of it. Either she forgot to list some meetings, or she'd been lying about where she was. The first option was just too random. It had to be the second, so I decided to find out where she was. I went into her messages from there. There was a lot to go through. She had a lot of recent texts, with most of them being clients and other business connections. I couldn't go through all of them in detail, so I just skimmed through the first 2 messages from each. It didn't take long before I found her sending pretty romantic messages to a contact she disguised as a bakery. Long story short, she's been having an affair for a while. The missing client appointments all lined up with the dates that they'd met up, which usually happened at his place or hotel rooms. I was still going through her phone when she came in. She froze as soon as she saw me, and she was quiet for a moment. She asked what I was doing with her phone, but I ignored her question. I asked her how her meeting with the health food startup had gone. She tried to look casual and said it was fine, but now that I knew she was lying, I could see how nervous she was. When I asked about the bakery, I could tell she knew it was up. We faced each other silently for a while before she finally spoke. She told me she hadn't been happy in the relationship for a long time, and the affair had just been her way of acting out. I was speechless. I couldn't believe she was trying to blame her affair on being unhappy. I asked why she hadn't talked to me about it, and she said I'd been distant recently. I knew that was a lie because I'd been the one putting in extra effort to communicate. I told her I knew that it was just an excuse. She was trying to blame everything on me because she didn't want to take accountability for her own actions. We had a huge fight, and I knew our relationship was never going to recover from it. We were done. For one thing, I can't tolerate infidelity. Once a cheater, always a cheater. And even if there were any part of me that wanted her back, she spent the whole night trying to pin her actions on me. She wasn't sorry about what she'd done. By the end of the night, I told her I wanted a divorce. She laughed and said she knew I'd take the easy way out instead of fighting for us. I said I wasn't stupid enough to fight for someone who was cheap enough to give herself up to another man. That's when she said, "We'll see how cheap I am when I take half of your stuff in the divorce you want so bad." I didn't respond to that, but I couldn't forget it either. That was the moment my new reality dawned on me. Just that morning, I'd been planning a surprise trip to Italy with her. Less than 24 hours later, we were screaming at each other. My life was going to lawyers and courtrooms for the foreseeable future. I think I feel real dread for the first time in my life, but I knew there was no going back. I tried to kick her out of the house, but she refused to leave. When I said she'd be the one sleeping in the guest room, we had another fight. I refused to back down and she moved out of the bedroom. There was no way I was going to let her have the room when she was the guilty party here. She still lives in the house, acting like nothing happened. Obviously, we still sleep in separate rooms and there's no warmth between us anymore. But she still tried to make conversation anytime she saw me around the house. I did my best not to talk to her unless I had to. I wasn't going to make nice with the one who cheated on me. Besides, I was sure she'd already lawyered up, just like I had. I was already filing for divorce, and I made sure she knew. When she was served the divorce papers, she looked at them, smiled, and asked me if I thought I'd won. She reminded me that she planned on walking out with half of everything. She even listed out what she wanted to take: my savings, my 401k, my stock portfolio, even my vintage whiskey collection. It hurt to realize that she probably never really loved me. She stabbed me in the back, and now she wanted to pick my bones clean. This woman was a vulture. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of a reaction. I just walked away. I won't lie, the idea of losing half of everything is sending me into a spiral. I worked hard for everything I have, and the idea that someone could cheat on me and still walk away with everything was too much to bear. I'm not in a good place right now. I'm still putting on the stoic act because I don't want her to have the satisfaction of thinking that she's gotten to me, but I'm worried. I don't know what the future holds for me, and I'm scared that the system will take her side, like it usually does. I guess I just need to write all of this to get the feeling off somehow, and see if anyone can tell me what I need to do to protect myself. What sucks is the way she's acting like nothing happened. I get you. There's no reason to act like everything's fine when you're dealing with that kind of betrayal. She clearly wants to walk away with as much as she can, and it's frustrating because you know deep down that it isn't about your relationship anymore. It's about the money and what she can grab before everything gets settled. She's trying to drain you dry, my friend. Don't let that happen. You work too hard for it all. Update. An update has been long overdue, so I'm back to let you know how everything ended. I was in a really dark place during my first post, and just reading through it again is enough to bring some bad memories back. I'm glad to say I'm doing a lot better now, but it was rough for a while. The divorce was brutal and awkward. It was uncomfortable living in the same house as somebody you were going through a divorce with, but there was no other option. I wasn't leaving the house for her, and she refused to leave too. I thought about changing the locks while she was out, but my lawyer advised against it. She was still a legal resident of the house, and locking her out would only hurt me in the divorce. Then everything changed when I noticed another discrepancy. I was looking through Leah's financial disclosure when something stood out to me. It seemed she was making a lot more money than I thought. She disclosed a savings account that I didn't know she had. It wasn't small change either. It wasn't huge, but it was definitely a significant sum of money. Based on her income, she must have been saving this up for years. I was surprised I didn't know about it. I wanted to ask her about it, but I knew that was a bad idea. For one thing, I still didn't want to talk to her. But more importantly, my lawyer would want to know about it first. So I called him and went down to his office and talked to him in person. When I told him about it, he said it wasn't unheard of. Sometimes women had a secret bank account, especially if they were planning to leave. That made sense, but there was something that was still eating at me. Suddenly it hit me. I told him that I always filed her taxes, and I'd never known about that money. She'd been underreporting her income to me, which meant she was underreporting her taxes. In plain terms, she'd been committing financial fraud. My lawyer sat up and asked me if I was absolutely sure. I told him I was pretty certain. The money in that savings account didn't match up with the income she informed me about. She had to be earning more than I'd let on. He said he needed to dig deeper into this. If she'd really committed tax fraud, then it was critical to get a more favorable settlement. He also informed me that it would have implications that went beyond the divorce. It wouldn't just destroy her in the divorce, she'd also end up facing legal consequences. He asked me if I would be fine with that, and said he'd understand if I wanted to protect her. I let him know that I had no sympathy for her. I was looking forward to this. We'd have to bring up the matter in court, but more importantly, we had to report her to the IRS. My lawyer insisted that it was crucial that we make it clear that I had no idea about what she'd been doing. I needed to establish my innocence, especially since I was the one who had been filing for her. He said it was unlikely that I'd be held liable for anything, but she might try to drag me down with her. When I got home that day, I felt happy for the first time since I'd found out about the affair. There was a glimpse of hope now, and it was enough to cut through the misery of living in that place with her. She wanted to clean me out? Good luck with that now. She and her lawyer had really gone for my throat. She asked for half of everything, including all of my savings and investments. She wanted the house and a fat alimony payment, and yeah, she really did ask for half of my whiskey collection, but her chances of walking away with any of that went up in smoke when we revealed her fraud. That was a beautiful day for me. Her constant smug smirk quickly disappeared when my lawyer revealed our findings. He laid it all out: the undisclosed income, the secret account, the mismatched figures on her tax filings. He brought in a forensic accountant to prove that there was foul play going on. It turned out she'd been pretty sloppy. She'd left a lot of trails pointing to the accounts where she'd hidden her money. She hadn't even disclosed the PayPal account she used to receive a lot of her payments. She tried to claim that it was all an honest mistake, but the evidence pointed to an intent to deceive. She then switched it up and tried to blame me, saying that I was the one who had filed her taxes, but I testified that I filed based on the information provided to me. That was the end for her. Nobody had any sympathy for her, especially when it came out that she had demanded unfair financial compensation while actively lying about her own finances. The judge put it best: she wasn't a spouse seeking a fair share anymore. She was a fraudster trying to take advantage of the system and everyone she came across. My lawyer pushed for an unequal division of assets on the grounds that she'd acted in bad faith. It worked. From that point, the court ruled in my favor on nearly every account. She lost her chance to get my savings and investments. She got no part of the house and no alimony. She didn't even get the whiskey. She walked away with the things that were unarguably hers and the things I didn't care enough to fight for. She ended up with her clothes, jewelry, and the lights and equipment she used to make her videos. The best part of it is that she was left penniless at the end of it all. Every single one of her accounts was frozen. Even the PayPal account she used to receive payments from clients. She hadn't just lied to me after all, she committed financial fraud. The IRS opened up an investigation into her. Like my lawyer said, she tried to take me down with her. She told them I was the one responsible for her taxes and that she had no idea what I'd done. They talked to me a few times. My divorce lawyer referred a tax attorney to me, and he was there every time I was questioned. He assured me that I wasn't liable for anything and that I'd be completely safe. He said their questions were mostly due diligence, and they just wanted to talk to me to build their case against her. I don't know all of the details about her investigation, since they don't keep me in the loop, after all, but I know it's serious. She's been meeting with tax attorneys and freaking out about back taxes and criminal charges. Of course, she's called me a few times since then. She didn't beg me to take her back or anything. She just screamed at me about ruining her life. I'm pretty sure she was drunk some of those times. She tried to blame her life falling apart on me, and I just told her that she'd made her bed. Between hiding her income from tax and cheating on me, she'd made a lot of bad decisions, and none of them were my fault. The last time she called, she threatened me. I threatened to inform the police and asked if she was interested in some extra charges. She ended the call and hasn't gotten in touch with me since then. I'm not scared of anything. I'm pretty sure it's just drunken nonsense, but I informed my lawyer and the local police just in case. I've moved on with my life since then. She's not a legal resident of the house anymore, so I took great pleasure in having her removed. I moved out of the house myself shortly after. Too many bad memories from me there. I haven't done anything with the house yet. I'm still trying to decide whether selling it or renting it is the outright financial move for me right now. I needed a change of scenery, so I took that trip I'd been planning on for the two of us. Italy is beautiful this time of year. I know I said I wanted to move on, but I couldn't help one last petty act. I texted her a photo of me enjoying a bottle of that vintage whiskey on a beautiful Tuscan beach. Needless to say, she cursed me out after that, but hey, it was worth it because I knew I got under her skin and that's all I wanted. I'm just glad I came out of this whole thing in one piece, and I'm glad I have nothing to do with her anymore. The fact that she tried to drag you down with her, blaming you for the tax stuff, is intense. I'm sure that little pic sent her into a full-on meltdown. Honestly, sometimes that petty satisfaction is just what we need after everything. Glad you got some peace, and it seems like you're really moving on now. As for the house, take your time figuring that out, but it sounds like you're in a good headspace to make the right decision. Have you ever caught someone hiding something big from you? How did you handle it? And thanks for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.